There are so many standout characters in the Harry Potter series. Some that we love and some that we can't stand. I thought it would be a fun idea to go through each individual book and pick out who was the best character and who was the worst. Obviously, there are so many characters to choose from, and honestly, I struggled with a few of these picks, but I think I hit the mark on most of, if not all of them. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. It will greatly help the channel with the algorithm. And if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button, and you can also follow me on all of my other social medias, all of which are linked down below, and all of which house similar content that I make here on this channel. Before we start, this video is sponsored by BetterHelp. Therapy has helped me in so many different ways, just dealing with adult life in general, work and the pressures of being a content creator that always wants to come through for his viewers, but also with mental illness, because I myself deal with bipolar disorder. It's not always easy for me to manage the ups and downs with the manic episodes and the depressive periods that come with the condition, and sometimes I don't really know how to cope. But through therapy, I've learned strategies to better manage my symptoms and take care of my mental health. My therapist has been an invaluable support system, giving me a safe place to express my feelings. They've helped me work through my challenges, and I've developed a toolkit of coping mechanisms and techniques to navigate the highs and lows of bipolar disorder so that I can live a more balanced and fulfilling life. If you're struggling with mental health, whether it's due to a specific condition like bipolar disorder or just the general stresses of life, I highly encourage you to give therapy a try. BetterHelp makes it super easy to connect with a licensed therapist to help you through whatever you're facing. They'll match you with a therapist who has experience dealing with your specific concerns. And if need be, you can easily switch to a different therapist. With over 30,000 therapists in their network, you're sure to find the right fit for you. Go to betterhelp.com/movieflame or select MovieFlame at sign up to get a special discount off of your first month of therapy. Now that I've said that, let's get the video started. First, we have the Philosopher's Stone, or if you're from America, the Sorcerer's Stone. For the best character, this was one of the hardest to choose because it's the introduction to pretty much every major character. Ultimately though, I landed on Albus Dumbledore as the best. He was mysterious in this book, which made him so intriguing to readers. We don't know much about him at this point, we just get tiny glimpses, and with pretty much every glimpse we get, he does something that makes us like him. The moment where he and Harry talk about the Mirror of Erised is so enjoyable, and we get his famous line about how he saw himself getting socks when he looked in the mirror. Then we have his involvement with the invisibility cloak. First he gave it to Harry for Christmas, and then when Harry left it on the top tower while handing Norbert off, which ultimately landed him in detention, Harry finds the cloak returned to his bed by Dumbledore himself. And if that wasn't enough, their talk at the end of the school year while Harry is in the hospital wing really made us see how silly but also lovable Dumbledore could be. As for the worst character in this novel, I have Draco Malfoy. I also want to give an honorable mention to Snape though, but I think Malfoy takes the cake with this one. From the moment we meet him in Diagon Alley, we see his disdain toward anyone who isn't pureblood, and he even makes rude comments about Hagrid. Then when we meet him on the train, he's even more insufferable, showing just how much of a bully he truly is. And things only get worse from there, as he picks on Neville taking his Remembrall, putting Neville in the Leglocker's curse, and orchestrating the midnight duel with Harry, purposely setting him up to be caught by Filch. And on top of that, he also blackmailed the trio when he found out their plan to hand Norbert off to Charlie's friends. Malfoy establishes himself as the rival of Harry in this book with so many different acts, which makes me say he is the worst character in the first novel. Moving on to the Chamber of Secrets. For the best character, I have Harry himself. He steps up in this book in so many different ways. The ending of this book has arguably his most incredible feat of the series, as he kills a freaking basilisk at the age of 12 with very little magic under his belt at this point. This book also has his most insane Quidditch performance, as he catches the snitch with a broken arm and hangs onto it when he crashes to the ground. Harry also has his biggest leap in character growth in this book, at least in my opinion. He's able to look inward and learns to understand the difference between himself and Voldemort despite having almost everything in common. And as for the worst character, I have Gilderoy Lockhart. Lockhart is insufferable in this book. He constantly puts Harry in awful situations, like making a big deal of Harry signing autographs, even though he wasn't, and in turn humiliating Harry in front of a whole crowd of people. And it's not just Harry that he annoys. He manages to piss off almost every single character in this novel. He tells Hagrid and Sprout how to do their job, insinuating that he could do it better. He insults Snape in the dueling club, saying that he could easily easily take him down, and he even pisses off his own students, losing control of the pixies. Even Dumbledore was a little glad when he lost his memory, saying that he was impaled upon his own sword. And that of course leads to the thing that absolutely makes him the worst character in this book. He was going to leave Ginny Weasley down in the chamber to die, was going to wipe Harry and Ron's memories, leave them down there to die, then go back up himself saying that he was a hero with another miraculous story for his book. That to me makes him the worst character in the Chamber of Secrets. Getting to the Prisoner of Azkaban. The best character in this book is without a doubt Remus Lupin. He becomes the best defense against the dark arts teacher in any book, and he does it by a landslide. He also connects to his students in an incredibly genuine way, building up Neville's confidence, teaching lessons in a fun way, and of course bonding with Harry and teaching him the Patronus charm. You also feel for Lupin and what he goes through as a werewolf. We see how the wizarding world shuns him for his disease, but interestingly, we never pity him because our respect for him is too great. We also learn of his incredible friendship with Sirius, James, and Peter while at Hogwarts, which only makes you like him even more. As for the worst character in the third book, I have Peter Pettigrew, aka Wormtail. Learning that Ron's rat Scabbers was really a man was a wild twist, but an even bigger twist is that Wormtail gave Lily and James up to Voldemort himself, betraying not only his best friends, but also the Order of the Phoenix. Then we also find out that he framed another one of his best friends for mass murder and allowed Sirius to rot in Azkaban, the worst place imaginable, for 12 years. This was the introduction to one of the most despicable characters in the entire series, and he definitely deserves to be in the worst spot for the third novel. Moving on to the Goblet of Fire. For the best character, I have Barty Crouch Jr. It's rare that a villain steals the show, but in my opinion, Barty Jr. did so with flying colors in this book. He was a fascinating professor who I would say is the second best defense against the dark arts professor, being behind Lupin. You just hang on to his every word, and he pushed the kids farther than most thought possible, actually training them to fight off the unforgivable curses. Beyond that though, he was the puppet master of this entire book. Almost every mystery was answered by his character arc. The Dark Mark at the Quidditch World Cup, how Harry got his name put in the goblet, why Barty Crouch was in Snape's office, what led to Barty Sr.'s mental breakdown and death, how the cup was made a portkey. The plot is basically Barty Crouch Jr.'s every move, and for that, I had to put him in the best spot. As for the worst character in the Goblet of Fire, I have Rita Skeeter. She caused so much chaos, writing absolute lies in her articles. She made up entire conversations between herself and Harry that humiliated him. She made up a romance and breakup for Harry and Hermione, which led to loads of hate mail, some of which sent Hermione to the hospital wing. She fed into the Slytherins, giving them a platform to badmouth Gryffindor students to the entire wizarding world. And worst of all, she outed Hagrid as a half-giant, which humiliated him, made him lock himself in his hut, and led to Dumbledore getting tons of angry letters demanding that Hagrid be fired. Rita was an absolute menace in this book, even being banned from the grounds of Hogwarts by Dumbledore himself, but that slimeball of course found her way back in over and over again. Moving on to the Order of the Phoenix. For the best character, this one was one of the hardest to choose, but ultimately I went with Luna Lovegood. Minerva McGonagall definitely gets an honorable mention though for all of the things she did to combat Umbridge. Getting to Luna though, this was the introduction to her character, and boy did she make an interesting first impression. Even though everyone had turned on Harry, Luna was one of the few who believed him about Voldemort returning, and she was not shy to voice this. One of the best parts about her character in this book though, was seeing her find a group of people that accepted her with the DA. Seeing her during those lessons, you can't help but latch onto her. She also stepped up big time, protecting her friends in the Ministry at the end of the book. She got Ron, who was in a bad state, as well as Ginny, who had a broken ankle, safely away from the Death Eaters. We'll just skip over the fact that she was the reason why Ginny had a broken ankle, but she was just trying to help when that happened. Most of all though, the reason why Luna took this spot is because she helped Harry get out of his depressed state after Sirius's death, actually changing his outlook on death itself. Looking at her positive impact at every level of this book, she deserves the top spot for the 5th novel. And as for the worst character, I think it's pretty obvious who I picked, Dolores Jane Umbridge. I don't think I have ever hated a character more in my life. She sent Dementors after Harry, she targeted Harry while at Hogwarts, tortured students, gave the order to injure Hedwig, used truth serum on innocent kids, tried to ambush Hagrid with 5 Aurors, was the reason McGonagall ended up in St. Mungo's hospital with serious injuries. She abused her power, she intended to use the illegal Cruciatus curse on Harry, and so many other things. I could make an entire separate video about all of the bad things she did in this book. This was by far the easiest pick in this entire video. Getting to the Half-Blood Prince. For the best character, I have Ginny Weasley, which might surprise some people who have only seen the films. Book Ginny was very different than movie Ginny. In the novel, she was one of the coolest and most likable characters. She was sought after by every guy, even Slytherin student Blaise Zabini commenting on how pretty she is. On top of that, she didn't take crap from anyone in this novel, which at one point actually earned her a spot in the Slug Club from an impressed Slughorn. Ginny also became a star player on the Gryffindor Quidditch team, carrying the team on her back when Ron didn't perform well as keeper. And if that wasn't enough, she backed Harry up and defended him to the others following Harry's use of the Sectum Semper spell. If you read the book, it makes it clear why Harry fell for Ginny, and their eventual relationship only made her even more likable in this novel, making Harry happier than he had ever been. She to me is the standout character in this novel. As for the worst character in this book, this honor goes to Severus Snape. He was bound to show up at some point. Though we later found out he was loyal to Dumbledore, when reading this book for the first time, we get the most shocking and infuriating introduction to his character, as we're led to think he's been a Death Eater the entire series. Then on top of that, he actually murders Dumbledore, which again is later explained in the next book, but for first-time readers of the Half-Blood Prince before the Deathly Hallows came out, Snape becomes an absolutely despicable person. When I finished this book for the first time, I ended it hating Snape almost as much as Umbridge. This is also the book that reveals Snape was the one who told Voldemort about the prophecy, which of course led to the Dark Lord going after Harry and killing both Lily and James. Those 3 things lead to one of the worst resumes to any character in the entire series. And on top of all of that, his time as Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher encased several other maddening moments for both Harry and the readers. And now we reach the final book in the series, The Deathly Hallows. For the best character, I have Neville Longbottom. After being a dare I say, pathetic character for the first 6 books, he is one of the most badass transformations for the 7th and final novel. Not only does he take on the leading role for Dumbledore's army, but he also very bravely goes against the Carrow siblings, both of whom are brutal Death Eaters turned professors. But most of all, he steps up during the Battle of Hogwarts, possibly being the second most important person for the battle's outcome, being just behind Harry. When he thinks that Harry died, Neville steps up to take his place, defies Voldemort right to his face, and he has his time to shine as he pulls the Sword of Gryffindor out and kills Nagini, the final Horcrux. As for the worst character in the book, I have Lord Voldemort. There were multiple times where he committed mass murder in this novel, but the worst thing he did was of course bring his entire army to take down Hogwarts and anybody who defended it, leading to the death of so many beloved characters. This is where Voldemort had his biggest and worst impact on any of the novels, and for that, he deserves to be in this spot. That's my opinion though. Let me know in the comments below what you think of my picks, and please tell me who you think is the best and worst character in each book. Start some conversations, reply to people, and just have fun with it, guys. That's all I have for you today though, so I will see you in the next video.